dear God, what a damn day. It was one of the most amazing hearings I've seen in my life, and I watched the Watergate hearings when I was 9 years old. Welcome to the Lincoln Project and the Breakdown. Hey, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. I am semi-unsupervised on the show tonight, so you might hear the occasional F-bomb. You might also hear that today because, holy shit, these hearings today were unbelievable. I mean, as I just said a moment ago, I've been a political nerd since I was a kid. I watched the Watergate hearings when I was 9 years old. This stuff matters. And I've been paying close attention to congressional hearings my entire adult life. There has never, ever been anything like this since Watergate, and maybe not even at Watergate. There were a lot of things that happened today that I have to tell you were truly off the wall bonkers. We're going to play you a clip in just a moment that starts talking about that. But before we begin, and we're going to bring Tara in. She's on vacation. She's casual. She's on vacation. She's loving it. And then we're going to have a special guest friend of the show, Harry Litman. We are going to talk a lot about what you saw today. And I have to tell you, folks, if you didn't watch the hearings today, we're going to replay them after the show tonight on LPTV. They're going to be available all over the internet. Please watch it. This was a person, Cassidy Hutchinson was not some rando. She was not a coffee volunteer. She was not somebody that no one knew. She was a well-known quantity in the Trump White House. She was a person who was in the room very frequently as somebody who heard and saw the things that Mark Meadows was being ordered to do by Trump and that Mark Meadows was ordering people to do. This is an enormously consequential witness. These hearings today were absolutely riveting for a reason. It's because you saw the madness just 1 inch under the surface. You saw the craziness that is there all the time. And I want you to think about this hearing today. After you watch it again tonight, ask yourself and ask your Republican friends, is that the person that you want in charge of America's nuclear arsenal? A thin-skinned man baby who thought it was a great idea to send armed and angry protesters to the U.S. Capitol. And this is something I think you really have to ask your Republican friends about because you saw the ragged edge of crazy underneath all this today. We're going to play a clip right now. It's about 1.5 minutes long. I want you to watch it. It's an important clip because it catches a lot of the craziest things that we heard in a day with a lot of crazy things. Let's go ahead and play that.
When the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, we're not, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing. The president had very strong, a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now. To which Bobby responded, sir, we have to go back to the West Wing. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol. Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Did Mr. Engel correct or disagree with any part of the story from Mr. Ornato?
Mr. Engel did not correct or disagree with any part of the story.
Totally normal, right? It's like every other president choking out their Secret Service agents, insisting they drive to the Capitol during an armed insurrection that they caused. It's just like any other president. Totally normal. And I got to tell you something. Here's the great test of the Republican Party's utter moral collapse. If you go to any Republican member on Capitol Hill tomorrow, except Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, and ask them, knowing what you know now, will you still vote for Donald Trump for president? And the answer will be absolutely. They don't care. That's the danger they're putting this country in at every single turn. They don't care. What you saw today was raw insanity, a grasp for power so maniacal and so dangerous that he was willing to violate any kind of sensibility. He knew those people were armed with AR-15s, Glocks, spears, knives, clubs. He knew it, and he said, they won't hurt me. Well, who would they hurt, Mr. President? Who would they hurt? You knew exactly who they would hurt. You knew the people that were your targets, the people on Capitol Hill. This is a president who was engaged in the most reckless behavior we've seen in any American president in our lifetimes, and arguably ever. I want to bring in Tara, who has been on vacation and is just chill as can be. Hello, you look like you are just absolutely relaxed. I love that. I love that.
Well,
so Tara, how often do you hear about presidents grabbing their Secret Service agents, grabbing the wheel of the beast, trying to drive it off the road? How often do you hear about that? Because you have some insight in these matters, and I'm guessing it's not a lot.
How about never, ever? As you guys can see, I'm on vacation. I'm down in Jersey, and
are you in fact down the shore?
I am down the shore,
as they say in the parlance of your homeland.
I am DTSing. Yes, I'm down the shore, and with my family. Tiki's around here somewhere. He'll probably make an appearance. It's a family affair. And I watched the hearings out and about on the beach and on the boat today. And I got to tell you, I was absolutely stunned at what I heard. I was infuriated. I was mouth ajar. I just couldn't believe it. And the first thing I thought to myself was, after I said, holy shit, about, I don't know, a dozen times, I thought, why the hell wasn't this in prime time? I don't understand why they didn't make this a primetime hearing, because every 20 million Americans, like the 20 million who tuned in to the first primetime hearing, should have heard Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony today. She has cemented her place in history. I believe firmly that she has replaced John Dean as far as the moment. Moving forward, it will be the Cassidy Hutchinson moment and no longer the John Dean wow moment like it was in Watergate. This is exponentially worse than anything Richard Nixon did in Watergate.
No question about it.
Should we go down the litany of crimes that not only did Donald Trump commit just in that sequence that you just played with that absolutely insane temper tantrum, psychotic, unhinged behavior of a president of the United States trying to grab the wheel of the presidential car and then trying to physically attack his Secret Service agent. Let's just start there, right? How many crimes? Then she exposed the absolute criminal enterprise and all the people who were directly involved in this, all in one testimony. Mark Meadows is screwed, and I hope he's prosecuted and in the jail cell next to Trump.
If I was Mark Meadows, I would be right now asking my lawyer, what deal can I cut? Help me. Dear God, I'm going to federal prison.
You know what, though, Rick? Fuck that. Don't cut it. We're not cutting a deal with this bitch now.
If I were the DOJ, if I were Merrick Garland, and by the way, Attorney General Garland, I hope you had people tuned in today, because there was a lot of evidence of criming that you should be paying attention to.
So much criming. And I'm sorry, but the idea that Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel, Mark Meadows, Tony Ornato, the Secret Service agent, Bobby Engel,
right,
like all of these guys, all of these men who are in powerful positions,
right,
who have absolutely bitched out and not come and testified and done their patriotic constitutional duty. They all swore oaths to the Constitution. Their asses should have been right next to Cassidy Hutchinson, corroborating her story and telling people what happened. As a matter of fact, that should have happened a year and a half ago when the second impeachment hearing was going on, and when everybody knew and it was fresh in their minds that this son of a bitch, Donald Trump, was out of his mind, unfit for office. They should have 25th amendmented him, okay, and kicked him out that day.
Tara, that's a really important point.
You know what I mean?
I want to bring in Harry to talk about that and some other stuff because, we heard a lot of craziness today. We heard a lot of insanity today. I think the thing that had sort of a comic relief to it was him throwing dishes and ketchup was over the walls. Do we have a clip of that? I think Lisa has a clip of that.
Several times throughout my tenure with the Chief of Staff that I was aware of him either throwing dishes or flipping the tablecloth to let all the contents of the table go onto the floor and likely break or go everywhere.
Real Housewives of the Oval Office. Okay.
Right. Or a scene at a Citizen.
The greatest.
More like a scene at a Citizen Kane, actually.
Right.
But, I mean, but where were all these men? Where are all these powerful guys? Nowhere to be found. They're cowering in the corners, worrying about their careers, worrying about, I don't know, loyalty to Trump, or thinking that they were going to get away with whatever they were doing because they knew good and hell damn well it was illegal, and they thought Trump was going to pardon them. And he didn't, because Trump is out for himself. We all know he's a crazy, selfish bastard on top of being a malignant narcissist sociopath.
Oh, just those things, yes.
Right, but they all thought that that's what he was going to do, and he ended up not doing it. How do we know? Well, Cassidy Hutchinson told us. Meadows, Giuliani, Gates, and the rest of them all asked for pardons. And so she's a first account witness. And I know you have Harry Litman coming up in a couple minutes, and it looks like my internet is stable enough so I can hang out. I can stay with you.
Hang out for sure.
But she was a first account witness. And Trump today was out on Truth Social, on his bullshit social media feed, trying to coffee girl her, saying, I don't know her. She was a nobody. Who is this? She's making it up. But that's not true at all, as you said in the opening. Not only that, she was a true believer. This is a girl who said in an interview that she cried when she got notification that she got a job at the White House. She cried. She was 2 years out of college. So, this is not someone who was just some fly-by-night rhino, never Trumper. No, she was a true believer.
But you see this one thing, and somebody pointed this out today. We'll bring in Harry. All the people that say Trump was dangerous, reckless, irresponsible, and criminal are testifying under oath.
That's
all
right.
The people that say he was innocent are pleading the fifth.
That's right.
That's a lot.
That's right. One last thing before we bring in Harry. Yeah. Another key point, another key moment that I thought was extraordinary, there were so many in this hearing, was when Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn, who should be
Warrior King Michael Flynn.
He should be stripped of any of his military regalia, or he should be, whatever they do to the military to strip you of everything, because this guy's a traitor also.
We'll call him to active service, bust him down to E1, and that's that.
Whatever. He needs to be punished for this. But he was asked by Liz Cheney if he thought that it was justifiable. The violence on January 6th was justifiable. And he pled the fifth. And it took a 1 and 36-second gap between when she asked him that question so he could confer with his lawyer, and then they come back and he pleads the fifth to the question of whether it was morally justified or legally justified. He pled the fifth. If that
is lawyer looks like a guy who has an order that makes him stand 500 feet from a Chuck E. Cheese.
Insane. And I want to say one last thing. To all of you Trump supporters out there, if you are still continuing to support Trumpism and Donald Trump, all of you need to take a look in the mirror and rethink your commitment to American democracy, because you are not on the side of American democracy. No. You are on the side of a neo-fascist, authoritarian, theocratic, totalitarian, king wannabe cult of personality. That's not American democracy or supporting our republic. And shame on every one of you that tries to make an excuse for this, or who tries to continue to say that it was Antifa or somebody else, or blame I don't know, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop.
The Capitol Police didn't do their job. Oh, really?
That is shameful. And I know that us, all of us here at the Lincoln Project and all the people who support us will continue to fight to protect this democracy, because these are the people who may be in power again if we don't get out there and get off our asses and make sure that they're not.
All right, let's bring in Harry. Sarah, that was fire.
I'm fired up today. Harry
Man,
Litman.
I was just starting to calm down a little, and now I'm all worked up. Here's me with my mouth ajar after hearing Tara's litany. Man, okay, all right, I am fired up. Gee,
So let me do a hypothetical. If you are Attorney General Harry Litman right now, and you heard all this today, you probably already knew a lot of this from grand jury testimony, etc. Well, I mean, what kind of territory are we in now with this? It seems to me we crossed a really weird Rubicon today.
Totally agree. This is, like a law school hypothetical today, but I counted 6 new crimes for the former president of the United States. But most importantly, Rick and Tara, we are in seditious conspiracy territory. And to date, there were a couple they were worried about, but, to date, it was all, do we think there's evidence that he knew? Fuck! There's evidence that he not only knew, he fomented, right? Is there evidence he knew about the violence? He's like, he wants to be at the front of the brigade with his crazy ass, people with weapons and horns, etc. And he's so upset that he can't be. He's grabbing his Secret Service by the clavicle and trying to get at the wheel. So in terms of legal stuff, we have gone from, there were a couple crimes that I thought already, they had him already on the evidence, and I thought all this debate about intent, et cetera, we were well past. But today, when we're talking about a guy who wants violence to happen and wants to use it to impede a lawful function, seditious conspiracy and fomenting of a riot. So, those are 2 big ticket crimes. Now, also obstruction, hitting Secret Service guys, destruction of U.S. property with the ketchup to boot, etc. But seriously, 2 big ticket items, and the highest. I mean, it would be, the most stunning development in presidential and judicial history. A former president being charged with seditious conspiracy. That's like, Benedict Arnold stuff.
That's what I said. I mean,
so
this is. I was talking to my mom and my husband, who's in the background right now, today about this, and I said, if this is not the time to charge a president, when is it?
That's right.
When? I mean, it doesn't get any more traitorous than this.
We sure as hell hope, right? I mean, I totally agree with you. We are exponentially beyond Watergate, and Cassidy Hutchinson, what she let out today, takes Butterfield and Dean times 10. This was crime after crime. That was little stuff. I mean, in terms of what was revealed in the hearings, this was gobsmacking. Look, my mouth is ajar.
The thing about Watergate that I keep going back to is it was such small ball bullshit compared to this. And we haven't even gotten to the degree of going after the conspiracy to cover it up.
Right.
That's going to be like a whole separate set of charges and crimes in this thing, because at the end, when they're showing those messages to various witnesses, like, the president reads all the transcripts. I'd be careful. I mean, that and my money is on Jason Miller for those, by the way.
You think he's the guy who said that to her? Whoever it is, somebody screwed up bad with her. She was really pretty solid, but I think that's when she went south. And there were 3 specific times where she really stuck the knife into her old boss. And someone misplayed her terribly, especially with trying. Oh, you got to be loyal. Saying that to a nice 25-year-old.
Right.
She is a good Republican, but she's not.
Right.
No, she's not a traitor. She's not a traitor.
Right. Would you commit a crime for us, please?
Right. A fun fact.
That's not what I learned in kindergarten. I don't think so. No.
A fun fact about Cassidy Hutchinson that I learned today is that guess where she's from?
Jersey.
She's a Jersey girl. So
she's a Jersey girl.
I will give her a pass for her, her past, participation in Trump stuff, because what she did today, for me, makes up for all of it. Because when push came to shove, she did the right thing.
Well,
and for those who don't know, she had a Trump world lawyer. up until the hearings
Right,
were
they were in
about
a
to
joint
start.
defense agreement.
That's something that I think, so people were trying to figure out, why did they do this so quick? I don't think we ever had that great explanation. I don't think like people are worried about breaking their knees, but something about, she gets the new lawyer,
Yep.
and recently, and I think something about that, makes everyone agree, let's get her on record now. I'm a prosecutor. I hear this stuff. I want her on the record. And I think the new lawyer really, he's like, hey, you've got, let's not, we're not in Trump world here, sweetheart.
Right.
You've got to really be clear of what side you're on. Let's do this now.
Well, her new lawyer is a former DOJ veteran.
That's right.
DOJ lawyer.
That's right.
It's a woman who used to be Jeff Sessions' chief of staff.
That's
so
right.
She has a couple bones to pick with Trump also.
Well,
excellent. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I'm curious about this, Harry. It's like, how does the committee, after hearing today's testimony, not to mention whatever they're going to have after this, how do they not do a referral on this now?
Oh, easy. They did. I mean, look, they've wanted charges to be brought for a long time, but I don't think it's got anything to do with, do they have the goods on them? Hell yeah, they have the goods on them. But their thinking would be, and obviously, there's a division in the committee, but the people who would be against it would think, we don't want to look like, if he does do charges, that somehow he's doing our bidding, and B, we don't want to look like to him we're trying to tell him what to do, and C, he's going to do what he's going to do. So, that's just a matter of sort of political sophistication to me, not the seriousness of the charges.
Right. And that the idea that we are now into seditious conspiracy with direct eyewitnesses. It's not, I heard from so-and-so. It's, they said this to do that. And this is what I witnessed with my own eyes. This is what, the guy in the room with him directly told. It seems like it's just reached this point of great granularity now where there's no argument now that this was going on. And I got to tell you, the thing that got me today, just like rankles me over and over again, is get rid of the mags.
Yeah.
They're not going to hurt me.
Wasn't that beautiful? They're not going to hurt. These are my people. I want to be. Don't make them go through. But they still get it. I still want them to have their weapons.
Yeah.
Right. It could be right. Let them keep their weapons, but they're not going to hurt me. What does that mean? What is going through his sick head? That he's going to somehow be at the top of the charge with these crazy guys with weapons, and
I think he was
roll into Congress like Napoleon or something. What really was he thinking? But he's certainly thinking it.
That's what was in his head. Is that he would go down there?
We are in seditious conspiracy land, but we're really in deep, deep, deep sick fuck land, I think.
Oh yeah, no, we are in a land of somebody who is just profoundly, and I don't want to excuse his behavior, but the narcissism is so profound that he believed that there was something here that was going to save him in terms of his people, his mob.
The day after, he still wants to kill his vice president because he didn't go his way. This guy
does.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
And the other part about this too, that is so just it's infuriating, is that he would think that the Secret Service and the military and this guy had control of the nuclear codes and everything else, that they all work for him. That's the thing, that I'm the fucking president and you're supposed to do what I say. That's not who the Secret Service works for. They work for the office of the presidency to protect the office of the presidency, and they swear an oath to the Constitution. They're not his personal bodyguard.
Right.
Some drug.
They not only work for him, but the biggest cause would be some kind of petty revenge on somebody who crosses him. That's when we're going to push the button.
If he said that to a Secret Service agent, they would be like, "No, sir," and they told him no. Look.
They go for the clavicle.
Donald Trump choking a guy or trying to choke a guy and trying to grab the steering wheel in the car.
Not just the guy.
Indelible, right? That's up there with Rudy Giuliani, drunken, calling the shots. There's it's been so good to have this in vivid detail, but there's 3 or 4 indelible pictures that emerge from all these hearings. That's one of them.
One other indelible picture that I want to talk through a little bit. Is Mark Meadows being in communication with the other conspirators who were in the war room at the Willard, I think that is another thing that's just put Mark Meadows' balls in a vice. I mean, that guy cannot be comfortable right now.
He has to have some first.
He's talking to Stone, Flynn, Giuliani, Lynn Wood, all those kooks that were over there, all Bannon, all in that whole world. I think this puts Meadows in a really terrible spot.
Next to Trump, Meadows had the worst day, and I want to get to him in a second, but this was the first mention. I've been thinking about this and waiting for this. It's a kind of bridge conspiracy. These jokers at the Willard Room are the ones who could connect up the Ali Alexanders and the foot soldiers here all the way to the Oval Office. That's first. But Meadows, man, oh man, he's got to be huddling with his, he's got a good lawyer, George Terwilliger, not just for criminal exposure, but for history. It's like, Mark, man, you come in fast and play an open hand. And by the way, if he does that and takes that advice, he is really dangerous to Donald Trump. But I think so. I mean, it's not simply the criminal stuff. Same thing, by the way, with Cipollone and Philbin. No one thinks they're in criminal exposure, but they want to go to the dinner parties. They like to be in
They want to be
sometime.
Society.
This is all like, you're on the wrong team here, pal. This is history. You better step forward.
Cassidy Hutchison's characterizations of Cipollone's anger on this, and Cipollone not really cooperating in this investigation. I mean, he looks like and I'm sorry, I respect and believe in executive privilege. I believe it exists. I believe it is appropriate. But at some point, Pat Cipollone has a moral responsibility to say, I'm watching a criminal activity here. I don't think that your attorney-client privileges covers you for observing criminal activity.
Right, and that may be when the president of the United States says there's no privilege. Look, Cipollone's a bar guy from way back. Barr, came in and gave chapter and verse. Cipollone's he's
I don't get it.
First of all, we knew after this hearing why Cheney last Tuesday was putting talk about balls in a bind. I think Cipollone and Philbin, who by the way is a real pro, they're going to cooperate in some way now. Maybe not under oath, but it's just right now they are really in bad odor, wrong side of history. They got to
take on the damage of doing this for Trump and of not speaking out already by her eyewitness.
That's right.
I have a question about that, Harry, because as I was watching this, I was thinking, for Cipollone, she said that he was aware of all the crimes imaginable that Trump was charging. All the crimes imaginable.
You're the White House counsel. Is that what you want to say to anybody?
Nobody wants to hear the words crime and charged in the same sentence, right? Coming out of the White House counsel's mouth. And so my question is, so he was clearly aware that criming was about to go on. And so does he have any kind of like an ethical, as a lawyer, an ethical responsibility? Can he be disbarred or anything for not doing anything about this?
Yeah. So, man, that's a great question. What he can't do is further it in any way. But he was so desperate. Cassidy Hutchinson. I mean, she's in the mix, but he's going to her. You can't get to Meadows. Please tell Trump not to do this. Does he have responsibility? I mean, basically, he comes off as this we're all going to go to prison here. That's the responsibility he has. So, he's the right.
Boss, we're going to jail.
I know, right?
Exactly. That's
Am I wearing jumpsuits of 44 long?
Right. Exactly. We're going to prison. Yeah.
So legal,
that's his responsibility. Yeah.
Legal.
He's Kirkland Ellis. He wants to be. He's an establishment guy in Washington. He just can't. Right. I mean, this hearing, I think, basically more. It was pushing that way, but now took the whole ugly mess and put it on the wrong side of law and history. And that's going to have consequences for guys, among others, like Cipollone. So what do you think? What's going to happen to McCarthy and Perry and those guys?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
McCarthy today, that's going to enrage Trump to a level. Sarah called it first. I think she was the first person in the country to call it, to say he would not be the speaker, even if the Republicans took the majority. And after today, Trump will never forgive that piece of tape. He'll never forgive it.
He knew already about it. He already knew. He was never going to forgive McCarthy regardless. This was all a dog and pony show because Trump gets off on the sadism.
Humiliating people. Yeah.
Well, even a broken clock works twice a day because it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I'm with Trump on this one.
Well,
what a jerk off. A jack off, as they say in Pittsburgh, where I'm from. Sorry, go ahead.
Jerk off, as we say in New Jersey.
Yeah. I'm going to jag off. Yeah, go ahead. Right.
Jag off. Pendejo in Florida. Anyway, but I do think it's really important to ask one other question, and that what do you think if you're in the DOJ watching this happening today, and everyone presumes that there are already investigations underway at some level. We know there's a grand jury in DC. If you're at the DOJ, you've got to be wondering, like, how do you proceed on this? Because you've heard a lot. Even if you had this information ahead of time, that's one thing. But if you heard this for the first time today, it's going to be a late night over there. I've got to imagine.
Yeah, I think that's really right. Sort of nuts and bolts prosecutor. I'll tell you what I do if I'm in the room making conversation. Search warrant on Meadows tomorrow, and none of this jerking around with some email, some others. They get the mother right away. He's the guy to. He's a real subject now. So that I think is coming. But they are look. Eastman and Clark this week. That's the same path here at the end of which leads to Trump. But I think Meadows is that's really where to apply the pressure. I think.
That is a guy who first off, I don't think Meadows would prosper in federal prison. I think he would not have an easy.
No. Rick, you're so mean.
But it's true.
Just something about that. Since the last time we were on air, John Eastman, his phone was taken by the FBI. This was last week. We only found out a couple days ago after the hearing last week. And it's
outside the restaurant, right? Thank you, Mr. Eastman.
Yeah. We'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And just, people probably think, well, I'm sure he deleted everything already. Well, the feds have a way, even if they did delete it, to get it. It's never actually
100%. 100%.
So he's fucked.
Listen, I suspect I would put $1 down that Mark Meadows had a burner phone talking to Rudy and the war room guys. There were a lot of burner phones that were purchased for the war room team that were being circulated around in DC. And Amy Kremer and her daughter have already been found out to have purchased a dozen burner phones at a Walmart on their way to DC for this thing.
Remind me,
and Trump himself. But still, I think Eastman and Clark were the most dangerous people in Washington for Trump yesterday. Now I think it's Meadows.
Yeah, and that doesn't reduce the Eastman and Clark danger.
No, because they're putzes that he took advantage of. They are just ready-made to cooperate. Right?
Those guys.
Same thing with the state guys. They've got 9 subpoenas out to state guys. These are guys who still want to be big in the Republican Party in Wisconsin, etc. Those are also dangerous people for Trump and for Rudy Giuliani. Really dangerous Rudy Giuliani.
Just something else, another point, Harry, and you can back me up on this or not if I'm not.
I back up on everything, Tara, from the start of your diatribe.
Only if I'm right.
This is my mouth ajar.
That was me on the out the
exactly. I'm gobsmacked.
All right,
go ahead.
I was. But here's my question. So I know a lot of people watching are like, are these fuckers going to get away with this? They're going to flip. They're going to become, turn state's evidence, and then they get to walk away. I don't think that's necessarily true because John Dean, even when he went, forward and spilled the beans with what he did, he still went to jail. So
Haldeman, Ehrlichman, yeah.
Right.
So 100%. When everyone says, will Trump be indicted? First thing, not to forget, it's significant is all the president's. It is men here, is it? Is there any women? But so if Meadows and those guys go, that's pretty significant in terms of accountability. Second, if they're investigating those guys, they have to, and Merrick Garland will, at least investigate Trump and do they have the goods on him. At that point, I'm sorry. I've now come to think the only thing worse than prosecuting him is not prosecuting him. Merrick Garland could come out otherwise, but he will give it a hard look. You can't go down that road and stop 2 feet short. He will look at it. But your point about these other guys, people are gonna go to jail, and in terms of the public hunger for accountability, that'll be part of it. As it was back to the Rick Wilson at age 9, John Mitchell, Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Colson. You know, that really brought things home.
Yep.
It sure did. And I recently reread a couple of Watergate books from the era.
Yeah.
And I'm right now like, this is so far beyond that. It is so far beyond this like amateur bullshit break-in,
Great burglary, right?
and this stupid cover-up. This is the real deal. This is an armed insurrection and seditious conspiracy. And I'm sorry, the Republicans who are defending Trump right now are using it basically saying, well, she still wanted to work with him after it was over. She applied for the job.
The Anita Hill defense, yeah. 100%. Everyone, even Nixon's biggest antagonist, and I was a little hippie Nixon-hating guy, understood he inherited the situation and then he covered up. Trump is the impresario here, and that's what came through today. He wants to be at the front of the mob doing what? Cowing Congress into, through violence, into not doing its job.
Yeah, into stopping the electoral count vote.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who said, I want to lead them there. He knew they were armed at that point. I mean, and I'm sure there's some DC local
people.
No.
Yeah. They're not here to hurt me.
Yeah, right.
They're here to hurt with. Yeah.
Good.
Speaking of that, I think that we have a rapid response about that.
Oh yeah, let's play that one.
All right, we got it. Okay.
I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in.
Wow. God bless the Lincoln Project. You guys are awesome. I would say he wanted to lead, but help's pretty good too.
Yeah, no, listen, I got to tell you, this knowledge that the crowd, he was told they had AR-15s, Glocks, knives, spears, and clubs.
Brass knuckles and right, the horde guy and Tony Ornato, who was a Secret Service guy, who took leave of absence from the service to go become deputy chief of staff, and then went back to the service, which I have a problem with because it should have been allowed. But besides that, he actually said to Cassidy, and she testified to this, they're putting fucking spears on the end of American flags. Like, he still understood the seriousness of the threat and the mindset of these people, that this was going to be a problem. And
even after it happened, it took 24 hours for him to say anything. He wants it to happen. This thing that horrified everyone, that is the common theme, even for the McCarthys. That's Trump saying expressly, seems right. I'm with those guys, not with my vice president. I'm with these are my guys, and what they're doing, that's what I'm here for. I
suspect we're going to see tomorrow in every newspaper in this country, and I guarantee you tonight on every news channel, they're leading with this. This has become the biggest, most consequential story of the post-Trump era. Harry, we are delighted you joined us tonight.
Always a pleasure. But I'm all worked up now. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go have a margarita. And so after this, maybe a shot of whiskey.
What do they drink on the Jersey Shore? What's the drink of choice? You want a Cuba Libre, I guess, huh? Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm in New York today, so who knows what I'll have.
All right. I'm in La Jolla. Maybe a Sauvignon Blanc. All right. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Hey, we got a couple questions in the stack from folks. And folks, by the way, I'm traveling. Tara's traveling. Our audio tonight's a little blah. Sorry about that. Thank you so much to Harry Litman. As always, our star guest. Amazing.
He's the best.
The best. All right, let's go with the questions. Hook them up. What about witness intimidation? I think there is a case now. Those text messages, and I'm telling you, my money's on Jason Miller. That little fucking snake ass weasel dick. He's such a little slimy cocksucker. And that's that sort of like, he loves you and you're in his world and just be careful. That's Jason Miller's passive aggressive, hey, drink this abortion drug smoothie to his stripper girlfriend tone. That guy, I smell it. I smell it.
True story, by the way. That's a true story. Google it, folks.
Google it.
Next
question.
Or report, allegedly a true story. Rick, Tara, and Harry, what are the odds this now expands out to members of Congress?
Matt, that is a great question. I don't know that answer yet, but just like every conspiracy, when they start unwinding it, it starts to unwind faster and faster and wider and wider.
Yep.
And I suspect if you do get to those guys, that they will have been in touch with Meadows, and Meadows will have said, hey, Rudy and they have a plan, so you should hold the electoral count vote and delay it. I suspect that's how we would get to guys like Hawley and Cruz and Lee. I don't know that answer, though.
One thing about that to add, remember, Ted Cruz and Eastman clerked together. They know each other quite well.
Yep. Hey, Tara, I know we have one more thing for the night.
Yeah.
Folks, I know after today, this is going to be a little bit of like a what? But we've got last week in the Republican Party, if I'm not mistaken. Do we not?
I have no idea. I've been on vacation.
I've been traveling. Yes, we have it.
Yes.
Yes, it is a victory. Play it.
Good.
Favorite thing that Trump did during his tenure in the White House was what?
Just one thing?
Have you ever seen a president who commits so many falsehoods?
Never in my lifetime.
You know, where I lied about Trump, everybody was afraid of him, including me.
A little dab here and a little dab there.
I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court.
We will make sure that when a kid is in the womb, they're as safe as they are in a classroom.
This decision doesn't take away rights from women. It allows states to protect the unborn and also to empower women.
You know, it's a victory for women.
This is a wonderful ruling for women.
Banning gay marriage is back on the menu. Banning sodomy is back on the menu. Banning contraceptives is back on the menu.
The end goal, of course, is to completely end abortion, which is the most evil act in all of human history.
Basically, we're having something like Taliban rule in America in a good way.
If we want to see real change in bringing crime down, we need to raise a generation to respect life in the womb.
And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk.
Who's funnier, Robert Smigel or the guy who took pictures of himself at Nancy Pelosi's desk on January 6th?
And all of a sudden, I feel a shot on my back, like somebody shot me.
Last week, the speaker caught on tape actually throwing an elbow at Congresswoman Myra Flores' young daughter.
They take pillows and suffocate people. So yes, this beautiful pink thing is an assault weapon. It's an assault weapon. Ban that.
No more kings, no tyrants, no more jackboot thugs. We will unleash violence for the freedom that we love. Come and take it. I dare you. Come and take it. Come and take it.
That's a good one.
At the end of the year, we're going to do a last year in the Republican Party show.
Oh, man. God bless the editors for that.
Yeah, you guys, and I want to thank the whole team at LP today. Reed and I are traveling in New York, and we have been running and gunning. So I want to thank the whole team in the production side, in the press side, in operations. Everyone today has really done an amazing job. Even though our chats all day long during the hearings were like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?"
It was crazy. It was
a crazy day. But we want to thank everybody for watching. Listen,
there's one thing real quick, Rick.
Yeah.
I have a couple updates since we've been on air.
Okay.
Things that we were talking about. One is Peter Alexander over at NBC News, close to the Secret Service, tells him that both Bobby Engel and who was the lead agent that allegedly was, the attacker, and the presidential limousine driver are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel. Now, here's the thing. Jody Hunt, who I thought was a woman, I apologize, actually a man. Jody Hunt is Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyer, the new lawyer. And he tweeted in response to that, he said, Miss Hutchinson testified under oath and recounted what she was told. Those with knowledge of the episode also should testify under oath.
Yes, they should.
So they're dropping the gauntlet here, and this is going to be very interesting. And also, our friend Denver Riggleman, former congressman,
yep,
friend of the show.
Good guy.
Denver was part of the staff. He was working with the committee for a while. I've visited his amazing distillery, Silverback Distillery. Excellent.
Silverback, yes.
Go down there and check it out in Afton, Virginia. But Denver has told me in the past, and also he said to others, that this is nothing compared to what they still have coming. If that's true, holy shit.
Folks, it's going to be a hell of a show.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to being back with you next week. Actually, I'll be with you Thursday. Tara's on vacation Thursday.
Yes.
I'll be with you Thursday evening, completely unattended.
I don't know. I might have to send Reed over there to baby.
Oh, I'll have Reed. Okay. All right.
But I don't know if that's really going to be the two of you together. Look out.
Well, folks, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's a hell of a story, and we're deeply grateful for that you guys tuned into the Lincoln Project and the breakdown tonight to hear our perspective on it. And the YouTube comments were terrific. They were flying by. I couldn't even keep track of them. Again, sorry about the audio. We'll fix that up. Looking forward to seeing you guys on Thursday, and join the union.us. You want to get involved. It's more clear than ever that this fight is going to be one that is not going to end easily and not going to end smoothly. We've got to all stand together and fight this thing to the last dog dies. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you again on Thursday.
See you next week, guys.